I wanna give you 10,000 flowers. I wanna love you 10,000 hours. I wanna give you 10,000 flowers. So we've been discovering layered harmonies and how a single singer can record themselves over and over to build multi-part harmonies and ultimately to sound like a choir. Today, almost anyone with a computer has access to lots of audio tracks to build layered harmonies, but back in the analog tape days, we were limited by the number of tracks available on our tape recorders. So after 10 years of having just 2 tracks to record on, my little moment of nirvana came in the early 90s when I got a Tascam 238. It was an 8-track cassette recorder. I mean, it's easy to scoff at the idea of recording a vocal choir on cassette, but this 238 had a unique and shockingly good sound. So here's how I used those 8 tracks. Track 8 was actually a SMPTE timecode track, which synchronized with external MIDI instruments. On my album Get This, I programmed drums, bass, and keyboard all using MIDI, and that left tracks 1 through 7 for audio. So the question was, could I get a single singer choir sound using a maximum of 4 vocal tracks, because I wanted 3 left over for guitars. So let's see how I did that, and you can be the judge. Okay, we're going to explore how I built a choir of 1 on the original song 10,000 Flowers, written with my musical partner Barrel Waters and released on the 1995 album Get This. So the layering technique I used works and sounds great even today. When most of us work with computer software and have nearly unlimited tracks to record vocals. But this approach that I use can really help you build thick layers of harmonies and also know when to stop. You don't need 1,000 of you, right? So while I'm recording a new song, I usually use a reference record to stay inspired and sort of guide my recording and mixing process. And I don't try to imitate that reference. I just want to make sure my recording sounds good alongside it, and like they go well together on a playlist. So my reference while recording 10,000 Flowers was Because from the Beatles' Abbey Road. Because the world is round. So, gee, I wasn't being ambitious at all, trying to rival the Beatles alone as a single singer. Anyway, I recently converted my original tracks from the analog multitrack master and I imported them into Logic Pro. So here they are. And as you can see, all the harmonies are on just 3 audio tracks. On the final mix, there are 12 of me singing together, plus the lead vocal. That's a lucky 13 total voices, which was actually my intention. And, while I'm on the spiritual topic, another little fun factoid is that we recorded the whole Get This album using the 432 Hertz tuning reference, which is known as Verdi's A, instead of today's 440 Hertz standard. So, why would we bother with that? Well, 432 is the standard tuning reference for literally thousands of years before the modern standard of 440 Hertz was adopted in 1917, very recently. And there are a lot of spiritual teachers and scholars that still believe that 432 is mathematically more consistent with the natural frequencies of the universe, and it actually has a healing effect. Whereas 440 is kind of out of tune and overly stimulating. So, hey man, peace, love, dope, beads, bells, incense, light shows, crash pads, and Hare Krishna, all you groovy freaks, dig it right on and power to the people. Now, remember, on my 8-track tape deck, I had the SMPTE sync track and 7 available tracks of audio. I needed to eventually open up 3 of those tracks for the planned guitar tracks. I was going to have an electric rhythm. I'd have an electric tremolo lead guitar and then 1 acoustic guitar. So, how could I possibly record 12 passes of my own voice, 12 performances, if there were only 4 vocal tracks available? And the answer is, I did it through the magic of bouncing tracks. Now, bouncing is how the Beatles were able to record the sophisticated production of Sgt. Pepper's using only 4-track machines. So here's what they do. They record 4 tracks, and then bounce them to a single track on a second 4-track machine, and that gave them 3 new tracks to fill. Sometimes they'd fill those and even do a second bounce to gain 3 more tracks. So ultimately, they could gain up to 10 tracks by doing a lot of premixing and bouncing. But the main problem was they had added tape hiss, and there was generation loss each time they bounced from tape to tape. So my Tascam 238, that little cassette, had a major advantage over the Beatles Sgt. Pepper gear, which was dBx noise reduction. So my bounces added little or no extra hiss. All right, in my case, I sang each of 4 harmony parts on its own separate track, and then I bounced those 4 tracks to a single track. Then I'd sing all 4 parts again on separate tracks and bounce those 4 to another single track. So at that point, I had 8 of me on 2 tracks. And then finally, I sang all 4 parts a third time and bounced them to a third single track. So I ended up with 12 voices on those 3 audio tracks. And in case you're wondering, 12 voices, if you use a little compression, plenty to get a thick choir sound. The Beatles, because, is actually a choir of 9 voices. They got Lennon, McCartney, and Harrison. They're all singing together in 3 passes for a total of 9 voices. Now, to make my choir fill the whole soundstage from left to right, I panned, or spread out my 3 harmony tracks. Hard left, center, hard right. And I sent them to a stereo aux bus and added reverb on the bus, which sort of put all the voices together in one room and filled in any holes. Okay, let's look at the harmonies themselves. The chords in 10,000 Flowers aren't just typical majors and minors. There are a lot of suspensions and some dissonance, so I actually took the time to work out and notate the 4 harmony vocal parts. So here's my original manuscript. By writing out the parts, I could remember confidently what I had to sing for each individual track. And that was important since I knew I was going to be recording myself singing each of those 4 parts 3 times over for a total of the 12 harmony voices. Now, with today's technology, I wouldn't need to bounce the tracks, right? I could sing each of the 4 parts 3 times in a row, but back then I had to sing all 4 different parts, mix them to one track, and do that 2 more times. So all 4 different parts to a different track. Now, as far as the song arrangement goes, I just wanted to build intensity as the song developed, and I knew I wanted to hit a big climax in the bridge, and I wanted to leave the listener on a high at the end. So I was building up to the high, I started low. On the first verse, I sang low sustained chords. I sang an oo vowel to sound kind of like a deep pipe organ. So here are some of the isolated verse 1 harmonies. 10,000 flowers, hours and hours, 10,000 flowers, 10,000 flowers. On the second verse, I wanted the voices to climb higher harmonically to build excitement. So I switched from an oo vowel to an ah vowel, and then I sang each phrase to slowly evolve from a slightly closed ah to an ah at the end. So check that out. Here's an excerpt. Okay, now comes the bridge. This is ahs again, but full and loud this time. They're basically stabs, almost like brass parts. And on the final chorus, when the lead vocal is super emotional and right at the top of my range, 4 of the harmony parts stay on the middle octave, but 8 of the 12 voices shoot up a full octave into falsetto. So, it's kind of dreamy. It's almost like clouds of vocals. At least that's what I was aiming for. So see what you think.
10,000 flowers, hours and hours, 10,000 flowers, 10,000 flowers.
If you want to hear all those harmonies in the context of the full production, you can travel back 25 years and watch the original music video of 10,000 Flowers right here.
I wanna build you glistening towers, live this passion for 10,000 hours. I wanna give you 10,000 flowers. I wanna love you hours and hours. I wanna give you.
All right, so that's it. How I built a single singer choir of 13 voices on 4 audio tracks. I'm actually still happy with how it came together, especially, being recorded on 8-track cassette. Anyway, what do you think? Please tell me in the comments. Don't spare my feelings. I'm still going to like it whether you do or not. If you've enjoyed this video, I hope you'll subscribe, like the video, and hit the bell. And please visit guitardiscoveries.com. You're going to find over 100 more videos to help you play guitar, sing, record, and sound great doing it. Next week, I'm going to share specific vocal layering tips so you can create this kind of choir vibe in your own recordings. I'm going to literally tell you everything I had to learn the hard way so you don't have to. So, see you then.